Benny Productions makes videos that I love. They're entertaining, I learn a lot from them, and there's even a few tips that we can take to help us make better tutorials. We'll go over his viral strategies, how he gets clicks on his thumbnails, and then, most importantly to me, how he uses the power of editing to create truly captivating and engaging pieces of content. And as usual, I'll be attempting to recreate an entire video in his style at the end, so make sure you stick around for that. Welcome to Stealing Benny Productions Style. So who is Benny and why should we learn from him? What does this kid from the Netherlands know that we don't? Well, we can see his secret straight away from reading his bio. Benny doesn't focus on teaching Photoshop skills, he focuses on creating entertaining videos that he enjoys making. And that focus has paid off, getting over 2 million subscribers and bringing in over 110 million views. Plus, he's seen mega viral hits like these, and even one that's got 11 million views, which any YouTuber would love to have. Well, how does he do it? Well, before we touch on his incredible editing style, let's first peel back the curtain to uncover his viral strategies. First of all, what goes into Benny's most viral hits, and how does he get that all-important click? Well, if you look at these videos, there is one fundamental storytelling principle that Benny uses to instantly intrigue potential viewers: transformation. If you look at these videos, each one is about a radical transformation from a pretty bad drawing or a bad idea into an excellent, awesome artwork created in Photoshop. And he brilliantly shows this in all of his thumbnails, which gets the potential viewer to think, how did he get from there to there? What steps did he take, and how can I do the same? At that point, they click. And this same principle can apply to non-creative videos as well. In fact, all of these videos use the same principle of transformation. But more than that, Benny also captures potential viewers' interest by deploying another YouTube viral strategy: challenges. You see, all of these videos present a challenge to transform this drawing into this artwork. It's not easy to do that. There's going to be obstacles involved. And you can also see this in his 30-second versus 1 minute versus 10-minute versus hour challenges that he posts as well. So for the Benny inspired video that I'll be creating later on, I'm going to be taking this drawing from my sister, who's definitely an artist in training, and creating a really cool Photoshop artwork from it. This way I have a transformation and I have an inbuilt challenge. It's not going to be super easy to make this look cool. And so now I have my idea, I'm all set, right? Well, hold on, because a good idea is nothing without great execution. And Benny executes better than this guy. Not only does he have great Photoshop skills, but he also crafts his videos in entertaining and engaging ways. His charismatic performance and entertainment value truly separates him from all the other artists and Photoshop experts out there on YouTube. And to illustrate this, we're gonna break down this video where he created a Hollywood adventure poster. I love it, and there's a lot of creative techniques in here that we can learn from. Let's get the boring stuff out of the way first. How does Benny structure his videos? Well, if we look at his content, there's actually nothing unique that he does with his structure. It's pretty straightforward. He begins with an intro, setting up the concept, and then teasing what's about to come later on in the video. Then he elaborates on the project. Like Ocean's 11, he then creates plans, and then, like his most viral videos, he involves the community. Then he just goes step by step through the creative process before a final reveal of the artwork, and then a review of how he thought he did. But it's really about how Benny showcases the steps that makes his content truly special and stand out from all the rest. Now, a little bit of behind the scenes, when it comes to actually filming these types of videos, I noticed in the past Benny would record his face cam reactions and commentary while he actually created the artwork.
Well, not really accurate 3D, so I'm going to do that. Some exposure, make it darker, and then some right down here.
But recently in these newer videos, you can clearly tell that he's creating the artwork separately and then commentating after the fact.
I began with the basic shape of the border and then found some cool phoenix-like symbols to use on Vecteezy. I started spreading those around and added some extra details to give it this Aztec kind of vibe.
This shift from doing live commentary to post commentary allows him to make tighter and more engaging content with a lot less rambling. But speaking of how he films himself, Benny has really put a lot of work into improving his presentation style. He's definitely become far more animated, he's given a lot more vocal variety, and has a lot of fun with the way he commentates on his videos. Just compare these two clips to see just how much of a difference this can make.
In today's video, I'll be showing you how I turned this drawing into a piece of art. I am going to put together a cliche but professional looking movie poster, making my own logo, transforming myself into a true adventurer, and combining everything into a fire poster design.
But when it comes to injecting fun into his videos, the main way Benny does this is through his editing. And we're going to take a look at that right now. In this video, there are hundreds, if not thousands of different cuts and effects applied to the video, with something new happening every couple of seconds. It's a very serious editing project that has a lot of effort involved. But the reason why Benny puts so much effort into his editing is because he's trying to create an auditory and visual experience for his audience. And he truly does this. This focus on creating an audience experience can lead to a lot of success in the creative field. I mean, even just look at the most recent fantastic success of Avatar 2, which was pretty much all about creating a mind-blowing experience to watch. So let's then start by looking at the visual editing techniques that Benny uses to create this experience. And all of these little things that we're about to talk about, I've seen him use multiple times in all of his videos. So these are pretty standard things that he uses to make his videos engaging. Number one is creative transitions. As a content creator, it can be very easy to fall into the rut of using the same simple slide transition over and over again in your videos because editing takes time, right? But Benny really ups his content's level and engagement factor by adding really creative transitions like this. And I especially love this brick one. It's really creative. So I tried to recreate it, and it was actually pretty simple. We just needed a brick wall texture, cut it out in Photoshop so I had two separate halves, animated this in After Effects so they slide in with an ease in, had a dust overlay and a simple sound effects, and boom, we have this. Pretty cool. And actually all of the assets that I used to create this awesome transition, I got from today's sponsor, Envato Elements. Over the past year, these guys have become one of my go-to stops to find any creative asset I need to bring my videos to life. Whether it be stock footage overlays like this, or keyboard motion graphics that I use in my tutorials, also sound effects and music, and even these 3D images, which I use a ton in my videos and in my thumbnail creation process. And the best thing is, all of these assets come in one simple and affordable subscription. And they have over 16 million assets, which can help you make videos just like Benny. In fact, this transition here was made by using a simple piece of stock footage from Envato Elements. All you need to do is download this clip, create a license, and then because it has a transparent background already built into it, all we need to do is reverse the time of this in Premiere Pro, add a whole keyframe once the sand is completely filled in, and we have this really cool sand transition. And it was so easy to do with Envato Elements, which is why I, and clearly Benny, love this service. And if you want to check them out, help support this channel, and make awesome transitions just like this, just click on the first link in my description. Secondly, Benny's videos are basically filmed on a tripod and then use screen captures in Photoshop. So how does he make this not boring? Well, the first technique he uses is artificial movement. Things like adding zooms, like punching in for each sentence that he says, makes it far more engaging. Then he also adds this simple wiggle effect to his footage so it looks like it's handheld, it's moving around, and I'll make a full tutorial on how to do this because it's a little bit involved and a bit too much for this video. But he doesn't just stop with his commentary footage, he also adds transitions and movement to the simple graphics that he adds onto the screen. I mean, even just watch this one. He could have just put it up on the screen and had it there, it would convey the same information. But that simple push in and movement of that logo makes it a little bit more engaging. Add in another creative transition and boom, we've just upped the level of production 10 times with a little bit more effort. Speaking of graphics, Benny constantly has new things popping up on screen, whether that be a graphics explainer or some text, a title, or a new background. Things are always happening and always changing, giving a lot of visual interest and variety to his videos. And it's way more than any other Photoshop creator does out there. Extra effort is the best thing to separate you from the crowd. And his editing pace is relentless. He moves through the steps really fast. His commentary is tight, but he also knows when it becomes too much, and he slows it down and provides his audience with a simple time lapse. But a simple trick he uses to keep engagement through that time lapse and make sure people don't click off the video is he adds a little progress bar in the corner so you can see that he is going to come back very soon with speaking parts, because a lot of people want that. They don't want to just sit through a time lapse. Other creators do that. They want to hear him speak. So the fundamental technique to do this is actually pretty straightforward. You just need to create a rectangle shape in Premiere Pro, or really any editing software, and then simply in the effects control panel, selecting this rectangle, animate the path of this rectangle with a keyframe at the end of the clip where the rectangle is fully extended, and then go to the beginning of the clip and drag the end of that rectangle right to the beginning so it's basically invisible. Now you'll see as you play it back, this rectangle is going to progress over time, which is going to give your audience an indicator as to when the time lapse is going to be over. But the final icing on the cake that really helps make his content so much more engaging is Benny uses a metric ton of sound effects and music to really create an auditory experience for his audience. Just listen to this clip from a really great Photoshop tutorial.
But if you just zoom in, have a look at the quality. So here's the before, let me share that with you, and here is the after.
And then compare it to Benny's clip and how he uses sound effects and music to really up the engagement.
Let's get out. Boom. There you go. All done. Step 2. I am hella skinny, so in order for me to look badass, let's use Liquify to add some weight to, well, me.
It's surprising me more and more just how much sound effects and music really do bring a video to life. And if you don't have them, your videos are going to be a little bit more dull than people who do have them. So what sound effects does Benny actually use? Well, the first one I notice he uses a lot is bass drops and booms when it comes to something that's impactful or something shocking that's happening in his videos. He uses a lot of simple whooshes for transitions and when things appear on screens. And then he uses a lot of sound effects that basically just make sense. Like that brick wall transition, he uses a stone sliding sound effect when it comes in, some dust falling, and it just creates a really cool experience. He even uses these palette cleansers with visuals and sound effects to reset our focus and for use between two parts of the videos that don't really link up too well.
Learn about.
Meanwhile,
Let's go and take a look what you guys came up with.
And finally, Benny uses a lot of different sound beds for his videos, going from song to song before finally swelling the music up to something epic for the final reveal of his artwork. And he really lets the video breathe here. He slows it down, lets the image appear up on screen, and then changes the beat to something a little bit more cool, some trap beats even, and then reviews his artwork for the end of his video. It shows how using the right song and letting things breathe can bring a satisfying end to the video. And also note how he zooms in on his artwork so we as an audience can see all the little tiny details without having to hold our phone right up close to our faces. Now another thing Benny does to bring a lot of fun into his videos is create these fake backdrops. So I wanted to try and do the same. The first step was to film my footage on a green screen and make sure that I didn't go out of frame like this. With that footage, I took a screenshot and dragged that into Photoshop, roughly got rid of the background, and then went and found some cool assets that could help bring my background to life. Now, honestly, the best place to find all of this with a license attached is Envato Elements. So I found this really cool wooden slat background with this sort of circular shape in the middle, which I think is gonna really help frame me and my desk quite nicely. Nice. And then also I found these stage truss assets under 3D images, which is fantastic because it means I can rotate them and get the exact angle I need to put one on each side. I also found this concrete texture, which I think will be fantastic for extending this desk. And then I found this stage light 3D asset, which I'll use to add in a fake light into my background so it looks like that is what's casting the light onto my face. And this is something that I've seen Benny do in a lot of his fake backdrops too. So I brought all of these assets into Photoshop, changed the color of that wooden backdrop to be a nice blue using a gradient map. I did the same to the stage trusses, turning them black, and then extended the edge of my desk to give a sort of angled view before using that concrete texture to bring it to life and add more depth, again including shadows to bring this desk to life. If you can bring a desk to life. Now there's one problem with my footage, and that is that I had my mic arm going out of frame, but I thought I would just build that into the background. So I found these two pipes, color corrected them, and put them in place so I could use them as a fake arm to attach my mic to. From there, I exported 3 separate images. One with everything intact, so the screenshot of me, the background, and the foreground. I'll use this to help line up all the footage when I get back into my editing software. The second image is just the background elements. And then finally a PNG of the desk extension, including a coffee mug that I also found to match Benny's style. I brought all 3 of these images into Premiere Pro, and then using that one with the screenshot of me, I lined it up so it was in place with my footage. This meant that the image was actually bigger than my frame, but we'll address that in a second. Copying the motion properties of this now in place layer, I pasted that on the 2 other images and placed the background behind my footage and the foreground above my footage. I then selected these 3 clips, right-clicked and nested them. But now if I zoom out on that nest, you'll see that the background is still missing. So I opened up the nested sequence by double-clicking on it and changed the resolution in the sequence settings to be 4K. This now revealed the entirety of my background, which means I now have the option to zoom in and out in my main sequence. But one other really cool effect that I wanted to add in that Benny does is this steam on the fake coffee mug. kind of just brings it to life a little bit more. So to do this, I simply found a steam overlay asset on Envato Elements, dragged that in, created a mask around the top of the coffee mug and then around the top of the smoke, feathered it a little bit just so that way it faded in once it got to the top, and then changed the blend mode to screen. And now I have a really cool artificial background, and seriously, you can do whatever you want with this technique. And so taking all of this analysis in mind, here's my Benny Productions inspired video of me taking my sister's drawing and turning it into something pretty cool in Photoshop. Well, you'll be the judge of that. This took a lot of effort to make, so if you enjoyed it, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing if you haven't already. Thanks for all the support, and enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first fake episode of Realistified, the series where I take basic drawings and turn them into reality using the magic of Photoshop. So the drawing I'm going to be bringing to life in this episode is this one here, which was drawn by my little sister. Now I asked her to create some random crazy creature that would be fun, but also challenging to bring into reality. And I really like what she came up with. It's an elephant, crab, squid, octopus hybrid that definitely belongs in the ocean. So that gives me a lot to play around with. So let's start by adding some slimy texture to the head. Apply some warp and then some liquefaction to fit the shape of the body. For some reason, when I first saw this drawing, I thought that this creature should be orange. Probably because I had the visuals of these guys in my head. But I really think an orange color will contrast really nicely to the deep blues of the ocean. So I added in a hue saturation layer to make it that nice orangey shade. Next up, I added these two giant squid eyes, masked them out and then blended in the edges. And if what they say is true, that your eyes are the window to your soul, then this monstrosity needs curtains. But now for things to get truly weird. To match the drawing, I added in this elephant trunk, masked it out, added the hue saturation color adjustment to make it fit everything else, and then using the brush tool manually painted on some shadows to bring more dimension to this drawing. And at this point, I started to question whether I should bring this monstrosity to life. And this feeling was only increased when I added in a mouth and then also blended in everything with these shadow and highlight lines that I manually, painstakingly painted on. But now I needed to fill out the rest of the body with tentacles in 5 steps. Step 1. I needed to find tentacles in different positions that I could apply to fit this drawing. Searching for tentacles, I found a bunch of different 3D assets that I could drag around to get the exact angle that I need to fit my drawing. From there, I could download it as a PNG, or I can also get the Photoshop document, which means I can drag it into my project without the shadows. Step 2. I placed all these tentacles in a document and then matched them up with the drawing in different positions and even combined 2 tentacles together to make it fit the drawing. Step 3. I applied puppet warp to a few of the tentacles to add some more variety and give them some more shape. Step 4. I then color corrected all of the tentacles to make sure they're the same color as that main body, which is very important for making this look realistic. And step 5. I blended all of these into the main body using shading, highlights, and some transitional texture, which I warped again. And doing this made it look all cohesive and as though it's one big animal. But this orange color seemed a little bit too ordinary for me. So I grabbed a sponge type brush and this nice blue color and just painted splotches around the body to add that variety. Again, kind of like animals that you would see in nature. But now it's time to get even weirder. I added in this 3D crab claw because the drawing told me to. And for this interesting feature, I thought a giraffe, actually, I don't know what these things are called. Apparently it's called an ossicone. Well, I thought they would work perfectly for the shape, and I think that's what my sister had in mind. I masked them out, which kind of got rid of all the furriness at the top. So I used the smudge tool to bring this back into the element. Again, I applied some color correction to make it all blend in, and I thought it would be a really cool idea to add this glowing effect, kind of like an anglerfish, as though it's using these to attract prey to eat. So with a layer set to linear dodge add, I painted on these 2 glows and then changed the color to purple to contrast with the orange. And I gotta say, I think it looks pretty cool. And then I can't forget the crab claw, so I blended that in too. But you know what? It could use more tentacles. So I grabbed an image of this 3D octopus from Envato Elements and slapped it behind the main creature. Changed the color up and then added in some shadows. And now for the final touches. So I wanted to add in some really cool light rays coming in from the sun into the ocean, because I think it really adds life to the image. And I found a really cool and easy way to do this is to just paint some soft white lines of varying thickness using the brush tool, and then use the perspective transform tool, angle in the top, so it looks like it's coming from one specific point of light and angling in. Put it up in the corner, set the blend mode to soft light, and then use a soft brush tool to mask out the base so the deeper you get into the ocean, the less intense the light is. To bring this to life even more, I added in some particles, some different shades of blue, and then did some final color correcting, adding some more warmer tones to the creature to bring it to life just that little bit more. And well, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Bob. That was a lot of fun to make. Now personally, I don't think I'm anywhere near Benny's Photoshop skill level, but I did bring my sister's crazy creation to life. If you enjoyed, make sure you like, subscribe, and again, a big thank you to Envato for being my first sponsor on this channel. And always remember, you're only one video away.